Hi, everybody, and welcome to Global Badass Goddess podcast, where we aim to empower and inspire. And we're so fortunate today. We are speaking with Bill Gladstone, author, agent, and publisher. Having courage and confidence in the world of publishing and media. We're going to talk about that today. Just a few minutes here. Bill is the best-selling author and literary agent. He works with some of the most respectful and influential authors, such as Marie Kondo, Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, Neale Donald Walsch, and Thom Hartmann. Bill has founded the Waterside Publishing in 1982. Bill is also co-author of the books Tapping the Source, The Golden Motorcycle Gang, and author of the international best-selling novel, The 12. So welcome, Bill. Thank you so much for being on our podcast today.
A pleasure to be here with you, and I'm looking forward to a lot of fun.
Great. Well, you've spent years telling powerful stories and, through the media, through your publishing. And now I hear that you're moving towards film and you've got a lot of courses and stuff online. So anyway, I want to talk a little bit more about that. And, one thing I was thinking, when it comes to skill set, when it comes to desire, when it comes to ideas, that's all great. But how does someone actually move those into reality? And what are the processes? And I would just love for just kind of open it up and around that and just share with us, it always seems to be challenging when you're a musician or an author or a writer, or, you want to break into film and television. What does it take to have that courage for us ladies, actually?
Well, the first thing I tell everyone is persistence, patience, and politeness.
Yes.
And a lot of people give short shift to the politeness. This is actually a very, very difficult industry, whether we're talking about books or film or even online courses. It's very competitive. You have hundreds of thousands of people that are trying to get the attention of your audience.
Yeah.
So you have to first be resolved that this is something that you truly care about, that it's within your soul, because it's going to be challenging. I mean, there's always the occasional fluke where it's an overnight success.
Yeah.
But most overnight successes take 20 years before the overnight comes. And the actual success may seem overnight, but there is a long period of preparation.
Yeah.
I remember when we made the film Tapping the Source, we had this wonderful interview with one of the top real estate moguls in the world. And he had had years of failure. And what he said, never give up, never quit, and you will succeed. Well, not all of us are going to succeed necessarily at the level that we dream, but we can all succeed at a high level. And the most important component is knowing that you're aligned with your true purpose. So I really encourage, whether you use meditation or a walk on the beach or just, journaling has been very effective for many, but really getting in touch with who you are and why you're doing what you're doing. If you're aligned with your higher purpose, my belief is you will succeed. And success may not look exactly like what you're thinking. It may not be millions of dollars and fame.
Yeah.
But it may be something even more important. You never know. I mean, I've had authors who have written books that have only sold a few hundred copies or a few thousand. And we don't know how impactful those books have been. It could just be one or two people whose lives have been totally changed. And then the ripple effect of how that change in their lives has affected millions of other lives. Of course, when we have a Marie Kondo or an Eckhart Tolle that, the book directly reaches 10 million or more people, we know they've had a major impact. But that's not the only measuring stick. And so we really encourage, and one of the reasons our agency and our publishing company has been so successful is we've never focused on the short-term immediate financial success. We've taken on lots of clients who going in were very much long shots. And some of them have become best-selling authors. The majority of authors that we've represented were completely unknown at the time we took them on. So we've seen miracles happen. That said, we also encourage all of our clients, don't give up your day job. It is a long shot. And the chances of writing a best-selling book, if you're not already famous, are about the same as winning the lottery. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah, that's what I understand. I think I was talking with Chris and a few other people that are actually authors, and their books are fantastic. And you just like, how is that getting out? It's like this whole arm of like marketing and publishing. And, it's like there's a whole trickle down experience that you have to like look into. And I just had my own experience with writing Courage, a book that I wrote. And I just did it not because I was passionate about it, but I really stepped back and I thought, well, do I have something to share, in my life's journey, and will it make a difference? And not that that was my life's purpose, but because I totally agree with you on that level. But I'm telling you, it was like a year and a half later, and the challenge, and even having someone help me edit it, like an editor and stuff, it's like, oh my goodness, I won't do that again.
One of the things I tell authors, and Chris, who I work with on our online publishing course, and who has sort of said, Bill, I think you need to be a little less honest about how difficult this process is. You're turning people off. No. I said, well, but the truth is the truth. As hard as it is to write a book, it's even harder to promote and market a book.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean it's not worth doing, but you do need to be realistic. If you're going to write a book, you should be prepared, even if you're not a type A personality, even if you're an introvert, to promote your book. Now, maybe you do it through blogging and you do it through using your network rather than putting yourself out there. But you need to be committed. If it was worth taking a year to write, it's certainly worth taking 20 minutes a day to promote. And you should, once you write a book, allocate at least 20 minutes a day. Obviously, some days you're not doing anything, so look at it more as 2 hours a week. But you should commit at least 2 hours a week to promoting your book. Otherwise, what was the point?
Right.
If the book was meant to reach people,
yes,
you have an obligation as the author to let people know about your book and to work with professionals to get on blogs, to get on radio shows, and to promote your book. And it's not self-promotion, it's promotion, and it's just the nature. Even the big publishers, when we are with Random House and Simon & Schuster and Macmillan and Harper, they expect that the author is going to do the heavy lifting. What they can do, if you as the author can get your car going from 0 to 20, they can take it from 20 to 60, but they can't get it from 0 to 20. They don't know how to do that. And that's one of the reasons it's so hard, if you're a complete unknown, no matter how good your book is, to actually get a contract. Because I've had editors tell me, I love this book. I hope you can sell it to a small publisher, and I hope it succeeds so that we can either buy that company or do this author's next book. But they have limitations, and it's the entire infrastructure of book publishing that is at blame, no single individual. But the way this industry is working, unless you are already well known, how is someone going to discover your book? And it's even harder today during the pandemic because the majority of bookstores are either closed or with restricted access. One of the best ways to promote a book was to just get your book into a bookstore so people could find out about your book. Now, about the only way you can find out about a book is going on Amazon, and you only have 5 or 6 or 10 million other books that you have to compete against. So it's very, very difficult.
Yeah. No, I totally see that. It's like, I think that's true for every industry. Don't you think, Bill? I mean, you just really got to get out there and just say, hey, this is what I'm sharing. This is who I am. This is my passion, or this is, what.
Well, I can't talk too much about non-entertainment industries, but yes, I think it's the same whether you want to be an actor, you want to be a singer, you want to be a director. You have to pay your dues, and part of paying your dues is work in your field in any capacity you can. The stories of, super agents who started in the mailroom are true. They got into the business. So whether, you want to be a musician and the only job available is sweeping the floor in the recording studio, hey, you're going to meet some people, and it is about meeting the right people in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. We were just talking about that. Me and my music partner, we were just talking about that. There's no do me. So, well, just why don't you share a little bit about your courses? I'm really curious about that and how people can access those.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's websites and things. Hopefully, you can share that, Chris.
sure.
It's ironic. Everyone thinks, I'm a big time agent and all like this, and I know about marketing. I actually am not interested in marketing. That's not what I do. The
Right.
reason I created the Waterside Power of Publishing course is I was getting too many ads for, oh, write a best-selling book. It's easy. Well, that's not true. It's not easy. But if you are interested in writing a book, and there's a lot of reasons to write books that have nothing to do with your financial revenue that's going to come from the book itself,
Yeah.
then let's do it in the right way. So that's what this course is all about. It gives you the reasons to write a book, whether it's for your personal legacy, whether it's to promote your business, or whether it's to share your passion. And those are all good reasons. And a fourth reason, which is seldom mentioned, is just the process of writing itself for many people is both cathartic and liberating and changes their life. And I'm not talking about just writing a journal. I'm talking about writing a novel, writing anything, will profoundly change the writer. So those are all good reasons to write books, and we go over all that. But then, okay, if you want to write a book, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way. And most people are doing it the wrong way. So we really focus on everything from, how do you overcome writer's block, to how do you actually find a competent editor to work with, when to seek familiar advice and when to avoid it. And when you have a manuscript, what to do with it. Should you be interested in self-publishing? What is hybrid publishing? Maybe that's the way to go. If you have a big platform, perhaps you can get an agent and a major publisher. What is an author platform? We go into that. We explain what the big publishers are looking for. And we also provide basically a line where you can start with self-publishing, move to hybrid publishing, move to traditional publishing. And it really depends on where you are in your life. Depends on the resources you have. Depends on your goals. And so we really try to take people by the hand and introduce them to all aspects of book publishing. And unlike some of the other courses, and there's some good courses out there, I have a very broad background. Not only am I a best-selling author myself, but I've been, one of the top agents in the country, and I've also been I am a publisher, and I've worked for some of the largest publishing companies in the world, and I started actually at the age of 6. So I've really seen everything, because my father founded a publishing company that was quite successful. So I really have had a broader exposure. And then because I was always interested in technology, I understand and have been part of the entire digital revolution. We actually created the very first ebook company before Amazon. We created the very first print-on-demand book company.
The dummies? I mean, you did all the dummies,
well, we did
right?
the dummies. Those are just series. No, but I'm talking about in terms of technology itself. We were pioneers because we used to give the largest conference in the publishing industry for technology-related authors and publishers.
Wow.
So through that, I mean, Jeff Bezos and I had a conversation before Amazon went public.
Wow.
Tim O'Reilly sent his top people down to our conference before he started his publishing company. I was instrumental in helping Microsoft and several, Novell, K-Pro, many other technology companies in developing their publishing programs, because at that time I was very clear that books were excellent ways to promote their businesses. Every time they had a new product, getting a book written about that product guaranteed them at that time getting book reviews in major publications, which otherwise they would have had to spend tens, if not more, thousands of dollars just to get that recognition that they got from a book. So that was something that we were very much aware of from the very beginning. So I have this very broad background where I can see the literary side, I can see the aesthetic side, the entertainment side, I can also see the business side, the pragmatic side. And so our course really is for everyone, no matter what their motivation might be. and we help them really, I hope, sort out. And I think, a positive benefit in some cases may be, okay, after they've taken the course, maybe they realize, hey, this isn't for me.
Exactly.
I'd much rather have them spend a couple of $100 learning that than a couple of $1,000 going down the wrong way and spending, much more with companies that frankly are trying to exploit the desire of fame and fortune, which is not that likely.
Wow, that's it. Yes. Oh, Bill. Yeah, I'm a professional singer, songwriter, and artist, and I decided to jump in on the book, just because I wanted to share some of my insights, and it's really helped me build a course. But I'm telling you,
well, I'm glad you said it, because one of the things people don't realize, if nothing else, particularly if this is a nonfiction, professional related book someone is thinking of writing the book is going to help that person organize their thoughts and better understand what they have to give. I was a teacher when I first got out of Yale, and I learned that you didn't really know your subject till you tried to teach it. That's when you find out what you really know and what you don't know. So there's so many benefits from writing a book that go beyond the, I'm going to be a New York Times bestseller. And when I saw there's probably over 100 courses out there that start, you can be a New York Times bestseller. Well, maybe, but it's such a long shot. And I hate to have somebody spend their money if that is what they think the final goal is.
And just to tag on to that, Bill, I mean, it really allowed me to have clarity. It allowed me to have confidence, and it really helped me with my communication about what I'm doing in my course. So I definitely see the benefit. So thank you for saying that. That was, I was like, oh, okay. Yes. So now in your book, Be the Deal, you said learning how you too can keep the deal at the forefront while still honoring yourself. I love that. Say a little bit more about that.
One of my friends came up with the title for me because we had been watching Caddyshack, Be the Ball. So what we were, and it was sort of like, be the deal. If you can become so integrated with the deal itself that you remove your own ego, you're going to have the best result. And I tell this to the agents who work for me. Yes, you have an individual who is your client, but your real client is the intellectual property. Your job is to achieve the highest possible destination for that intellectual property. The best editor, the best publisher, the best distributor, the best marketing. Sometimes your individual human client may oppose the direction that you're taking the project. That is the time where you need to step up and say, I'm the professional here. You may have been the creator, but let me do my job. Trust in what I'm going to do for you. In the end, it's going to exceed what your expectations are, because there is a difference. That said, of course, there's always, mitigating circumstances, and you do have to listen to the client. But my perspective is the intellectual property, once created, is my true client. My goal is to represent that intellectual property in the best way possible. And occasionally the creator of the property actually gets in the way.
Yeah, brilliantly said, brilliantly said. Woo, this is action-packed. Love this. So kind of just jumping back to, I think we kind of briefly touched it, but it was myths. Is there do you have some myths about this industry?
Oh, the biggest myth is you've written this great novel and you're going to send it in and someone's going to read it and immediately offer you $1 million. It doesn't happen. Most of the major publishers will not even look at anything you write unless you can get an agent. And guess what? Getting an agent today is just about as hard as getting a publisher. The top agents are under a lot of pressure to only represent books that can get 6- and 7-figure advances. So there are the 1 in 100,000 cases where something comes through and someone in the agency reads it, falls in love with it, brings it to their boss, the boss falls in love with it, they have a good relationship with a major editor, publisher, and the deal happens, and it does happen. It happens just enough once every 2 or 3 years that people write about it, because it's what it's the old Horatio Alger story, rags to riches, anonymity to fame overnight, and it's the story everybody wants to hear and believe in. It can happen, but as I said, you can also win the lottery. It just is not a practical thing to anticipate. So if that's not practical, what is practical? And what is practical is learning as much as you can about this publishing industry and taking advantage of what is in front of you. And what is in front of you may be, in the beginning, oh, I know an author who has an agent. Maybe that's the way in. Or I know an editor. Maybe that's the way in. Or I know a teacher at a major program like the Iowa Writers School or another one, and that's the way in. But you need to find a point of connection. And it is, I mean, it's been criticized as being a quote, old boys network, or really was more what I would call a girls network, since the majority of editors are actually female.
Interesting.
But there's been, a great deal of scrutiny over the last 2 years about the lack of diversity, the lack of, people of color, and that's true. Now, I don't think that there's anything systematic racist about it. It's just sort of the way the industry evolved. If you go back, very few Black entrepreneurs started publishing companies. Part of the reason, because for the most part, publishing has never been the place to invest your money anyway. But, if you go all the way back to the beginning of most of the major publishing companies, they were started by the second or third son in a prominent family because it was a gentleman's profession, and they could afford to lose some money, and this was a nice thing to do. Then it evolved a little bit where, having this publishing company is actually a pretty good promotional tool for some of the other things we're doing. Let's say some nice things about the steel industry or the railroad industry, which we own, and publish some books that put us in a good light. So there were some of those factors that crept in as well. But then, probably around the 50s and the 60s after World War II, publishing did open up. And if you analyze it, there's always been diversity. It just hasn't been as prominent as people today would like. But, we've always had famous Black authors. We've always had authors who represented,
the voice.
Voice of the people, so to speak. And, there always have been books that have broken through. But that said, if you look at the gatekeepers for the most part have represented Anglo-Saxon privileged white people. And that's the history of it. It is not going to change overnight. It may not change at all. It's changing a little bit right now because of all the outcry, but it's the nature of the industry that you can't really support yourself with a junior position in publishing. It just doesn't pay very well.
Right.
So traditionally, even in the 60s and the 70s, who was taking the positions as assistant editor at Random House? They were young women whose families were supplementing the minor income they were making from their publishing job. So you just need to sort of have a historical awareness. And take advantage of what is in front of you. Right now, for the first time, I think there are a lot of new organizations. There are some new agents. So even if you are, from a quote, unprivileged group, you have some opportunities that didn't exist even a few years ago. But, your opportunities really start with your network of friends and family, and then you go from there.
I think you're right on with that. As far as how to make that connection, it starts with you first, then it goes out, then it, to your family, friends, that kind of thing, and build from there, and really do the research, like really understand what industry are you moving into, and then there's valuable information there, and you just got to keep going, like you said. Let's see, I was talking about myths. And then I was thinking about Matthew McConaughey and his green light books, which was really amazing. And, but Matthew's got instant marketing.
Well, Matthew is a myth himself. I love him, by the way. He's one of my favorite actors. I haven't had a chance to read his book, but I have seen interviews with him. And, I know his story of being in the right bar at the right time. And that's how got his first major role. That, and that goes back to, I think it was, I can't remember the name of the delicatessen or the soda shop in Hollywood, where famous actresses were
Oh, right.
Swansons or something. But
Okay.
whatever, but those happy accidents do occur. In terms of why his book has sold so well, he's an interesting story in and of himself,
Completely.
and he's a good, and it's well written. The little excerpts I've read, but could he have written that book 40 years ago before he was known? Absolutely not. No one would have been interested, even if it were written at the same level that, of quality. He had to have the platform.
Yeah.
What I tell all of the authors is the publishers can take a car going 20 and get it to 60 faster than you, but they can't get the car going from 0 to 20. That's up to you as an author.
Yeah.
And that's, more true today than ever before. The authors have to be the engine in the beginning.
Yeah. 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 And I don't know if you've heard his audio on the book, but he is hilarious. He's like, note to self, I mean, you're just going to laugh your ass off.
Well, he's a very honest, open person.
Yes.
And he doesn't dissimulate. I mean, he tells his true story. And I think we all want to hear the truth. We want to hear the stories. And we want people who are not so egotistical that they won't share some embarrassing moments.
Totally. Completely. And if you do you ever come across a book where I don't know where you are within your phase of your business, because I know you were talking about going into film and television. Do you have a bunch of books right now that you're interested in to turn into those, and what would qualify?
We actually are in the middle of negotiating what may be the biggest, or at least one of the top 3 streaming deals of the year. With Netflix. So awesome. I can't talk about, things that are in negotiations, but yeah, increasingly and these are different projects. So we also have a project that Johnny Depp's attached to. We have another project that Amanda's attached to. So yeah, we're starting to have projects that Hollywood is taking very seriously, and that the very top talent of Hollywood is wanting to work with our authors.
So are you taking any submissions with books to turn into TV or film?
Sure, yes. I mean, we only represent to film projects that we represent as books.
Yes.
And we've evolved a model over the last several years. 90% of what's submitted to us is not going to qualify for the major publishers. It really, it depends on what an author is looking for. We still work with some of the smaller independent publishers who might give you a $5,000 or $10,000 advance, but in exchange for that, they're going to want 80 to 90% of all of the rights. So we evolved over the last several years our own publishing program, which allows the authors to retain 70%. We don't invest as much in marketing, but it's a better route than trying to do it on your own, because we have a network of people that will provide our authors with their best services at the lowest cost. So there are some costs involved with this route, but we have had a number of successes. This was pretty good. I just found out an hour ago, one of the books we recently published, Life at Hamilton, written by the bartender who was at the Hamilton shows in New York, wrote, and we sold over 1,000 copies in the first month of publication.
Wow.
That's may not seem like a lot to some people, but Random House is happy when they sell 1,000 copies of anything except their A-list authors. So, we're finding success, and we're being very smart about it. We're keeping our costs down.
Great.
And yes, we actually have already entered a film shopping agreement to have a film created based on that book. And we have several other books that are being shopped. We have a good film partner in Hollywood. And then occasionally we do get approached directly if a book catches a producer's attention. So that is becoming a very important part of our business. We're actually looking at creating our own film division. I have produced a couple of films in the past, very small ones, but that's something that we're likely to expand.
Yeah, I love that. I really feel like I'm so glad you guys are doing that. And I'm really glad that you're looking more towards more conscious type of
Well, just two of
conversations.
the film projects that we haven't funded yet that are going to be more
Yeah.
of a challenge. One deals with the role of compassion in healing,
Love
and
it.
another one deals with suicide prevention.
Love
So
it.
we're not only interested in big commercial. I think that's what keeps Waterside balanced, because our mission statement isn't to make as much money as possible. Our
Right.
mission statement is to help authors and publishers create and distribute books that will create a better world. So we're
Yes.
very faithful to that mission. And yes, it is more fun when we have a book that sells 1 million or more copies and we make a ton of money. But sometimes we get just as much satisfaction from a project, even if it only is a modest financial return or even small loss, that helps a good number of people.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I've got a couple of more questions for you before we leave, and I want you to finish this statement. If I could,
That's it. That's all I get. If I could guarantee that the project that we're in discussions with could reach 100 million people, I'd be very happy.
Yay, I love that. Thank you. Okay. And the last question is, leave us with an inspirational quote or a book that you really love and you think would really inspire people.
Well, my favorite book in the world is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Anyone who has any interest in South America or the Hispanic culture needs to read the book. But even if you don't, if you really want to experience great writing, if you're interested in being a writer yourself, reading a book like this and other kinds of books that are at this level will improve your sensibility and your own writing ability. Most importantly, 100 Years of Solitude, in a very magical way, captures the essence of what it is to be a human being. And I'm really pro-human being. I think that so much of what's going on right now in the world is to create what I fear to call anti-human beings. They're not fully human. They allow one aspect, one dimension of their personality or of their life to dominate. And that's not what being a human being is about. Being a human being is really experience the fullness of life and to share your life, not just with those who think like you, but with people who are different from you. And that's part of what I'm seeing is not functioning very well in our country or in the world right now. We really have so much polarization. Obviously, because of the pandemic, we have a lot of fear. We have to overcome both of those challenges.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, and bless you, and may your companies explode. And I'm just excited that I get to share in this journey with you. So I appreciate your time, and thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you as well, and may everything go as well as possible with your music career and
Thank
all your
you.
other activities.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Bill.
Okay.
Bye-bye.